Hi, today we're going to be talking about trauma. I'm Beatrice Stanley, mental health therapist and yogi. I talk about mental health and well-being in order to help you on your transformative journey. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's start off with understanding what trauma is. Simply put, trauma is a distressing experience that happens to you or is something that you witness. This can be anything like car accident, abuse, neglect, all the way to several heated arguments and ending of relationships. Trauma is experienced on a scale. All trauma is valid, and there is no need to try and compare your trauma to see if it is actually bad enough to be considered trauma. If you experience it as such, then it is. Coffee break. Let's dive into 5 common trauma symptoms. Number 1, nightmares. Nightmares obviously occur during sleeping hours. They are also very vivid. People usually wake up feeling drained, tired, and depleted. You're often emotionally exhausted as well. The nightmares sometimes are replays of the traumatic event. They are also possible to be themes of the traumatic event. For example, you might experience nightmares where you feel helpless or hopeless. They might not have anything to do with the trauma. However, the sensations are very much in line with the trauma experience. Number 2, flashbacks. These occur at literally any time during the day. Flashbacks are moments in time where you are re-experiencing the trauma. You tend to feel like you're back in it, like senses of smell, touch, even taste can be brought to life in that moment, even though you in the present is nowhere near that event. So a flashback occurs at any point in the day, and it is a reliving of that traumatic experience. Number 3, avoidance. This happens so much in normal day-to-day. When it comes to trauma, one of the things that you will notice is that you start to avoid things, places, people that remind you of the trauma. For example, you might start taking a different route home from work, depending on the trauma experience you've been through. You may no longer attend certain events or feel very uncomfortable in places that you didn't used to feel uncomfortable. Number 4, you can start to develop very generalized beliefs. Depending on the trauma that you've been in, they can look something like this. I'm going to use the example of a car accident. So some generalized beliefs that you might come to have if you've been through a traumatic car accident is all cars are unsafe. I'm not a good driver. I will never be able to drive again. Driving will never feel safe. These are all generalized beliefs. They are very extreme in their thinking. Is driving unsafe? Yeah, to some degree it is. Is it possible to be safe while driving? Yes, that is also true. However, the generalized beliefs make it absolute. There is only one truth, and the truth is that all driving is dangerous, bad, scary, and ultimately risky. These things can feel extremely true after a trauma. 5, emotional overload. Emotional overload is when you notice a lot more overwhelm and irritability than what you used to experience. Emotional overload happens typically more quickly after a trauma. So one of the things that you might notice is that you're much quicker to become irritable about things that before might just have seemed annoying or inconvenient. Often when emotional overload is experienced, it feels out of control. Like there's literally no other response that you could have given in that moment. This is a very common trauma experience. Oftentimes after this emotional overload occurs, you'll come back and look at the situation and even question like, wow, that was like unlike me. Or like, I didn't realize that I was getting so angry. Like that felt weird. However, in the moment, it doesn't feel possible to respond in any other way. Thank you so much for joining me today. Your support and your presence means a lot to me. I hope that this gives you a bit more information about trauma, helps validate your own trauma or the trauma that you know other people have experienced, and gives you a bit more understanding and compassion for these situations. Once trauma occurs, the nervous system breaks down and has difficulty managing, which is part of why these trauma symptoms occur. It is not your fault. It is not something that you were trying to do, typically. It is the body's way of trying to make sense of this terrible event that has happened. Hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified of the next video as soon as it's posted. See you soon.